Sometimes the fastest way to slow down is to unplug. But in a world that's buzzing 24/7, finding stillness, especially for our young people, can feel like chasing a moving target. We raise kids to be strong, yet they are growing up in a climate where constant connection to devices can leave them feeling more disconnected than ever from nature, from each other, and from themselves. Now, listeners, today on this episode of The Mindful Living, with your host Sana, we are going to explore a different path, one that doesn't require Wi Fi, but instead asks for presence, one that doesn't chase perfection but builds resilience. And listeners, let me introduce my guest to all of you, Marina Passalaris. She is the founder of Beautiful Minds, whose journey from being the girl in her room with chronic agoraphobia to leading Australia's largest family well-being company is nothing short of remarkable. And together, we'll be talking about how tech free, nature based experiences can transform family connections, strengthen mental health, and help young people face the pressures of today's fast paced world with calm and confidence. And maybe along the way, we'll rediscover the greatest tools for well being aren't in our pockets, they are in our hearts, in our breath, and our relationships. So, with that, Marina, welcome to the show. And I'm really, really honored to have you here with us.
Well, Sana, it's wonderful to be here. Thank you for having me on. What a great intro.
And Marina, I'm so much up for this conversation because if I talk in terms of the current affairs, all the events and occurrences that are happening around, especially when it comes to the well-being of our kids, our younger generation, Australia as a country, it has definitely taken some legal steps to work on this. And I think that's a very, very, for me personally, it's a very welcoming change.
Look, I think it is a welcoming change to some degree, but I do feel that we need to just constantly remind parents that their role is to parent and not leave that up to the government to make that decision. You know, when your kids are in your care and in your home environment, it's up to every single family to set the tone and set the boundaries for their particular family to ensure that those children are safeguarded until such time as they are adults and can go out into the world and, have their own wonderful lives. So I think that whilst it's great that the government is definitely stepping in a little bit, I think at the end of the day, families need to reset, look at, their environments and work out what they will and won't accept in the family home and work together as a team.
Totally, totally. No, I completely 500% agree on that. 500% agree on that. Now, Marina, let's begin with your story. It starts in such a deeply personal space. Not being able to leave your bedroom for over a year. So if you can maybe share a glimpse of that with all of us. I mean, how did that experience shape the way you design, the retreats for young people today?
So I grew up in South Africa and I grew up in a very politically unsafe time. And because we were in a farming community, there was a lot of violence, there was a lot of political unrest. And so, as a young girl, I always felt incredibly unsafe. I definitely witnessed more than any child should ever have to witness, and had more trauma by the age of 8 than most kids will, ever see in their lifetime. And so I think it was just, so much of that time that we didn't talk about anxiety or depression or what was going on internally, that as a young child, I knew something wasn't right, and I knew that my body felt incredibly unsafe, but I had no name for it. I was never diagnosed for what I was going through until many, many years later. And it got to a point that the anxiety got to a point that it was, eventually diagnosed as agoraphobia. And I did. I spent an entire year as a young girl, locked up in my bedroom, to the point that, my beautiful dad would come home after work and try and get me out of my room and just get me to the front door of the house. And many times that wasn't even possible because the anxiety was so unbelievable. And I think it was terrifying for my parents to understand what was going on. There really, in our farming community, wasn't a lot of support or understanding around an anxiety agoraphobia diagnosis, and it took me a very long time to work through what was going on for me, and I just went on years and years and years of studying psychology, counseling, natural remedies, doing courses, reading books, doing everything I could possibly do to try and understand why my body was failing me and how I could fix it. And so it was a massive journey. And I think through that sort of 15-year journey, when I finally came out at the other end, I was very much focused on setting up Beautiful Minds as a passion project, initially, to be able to support other young people that were struggling with anxiety, depression, lack of confidence, self-worth, all the things that we as human beings go through. And when I started it in 2003 in Australia, I really didn't have the support of the community, in the fact that the schools weren't delivering these types of sessions. No one was really that interested in having these conversations. It was just, I think I was years before my time, whereas now well-being is just such a huge focus. So I just, went on this crusade around Australia in my car, delivering workshops to families that needed it, and it grew very organically and grew because I loved it. It was a passion project, and I was desperate to help kids that needed more support.
Wow, what a journey, Maria. First, thank you for sharing this because definitely needs a lot of courage and vulnerability at the same time, and such a personal you know uh, motivation and reason to do this. It's just kind of through lived experiences that whatever we do, it becomes more and more you know aligned with the vision that we are seeing. Uh so so that is absolutely profound. And um do you ever see, when you interact with the teens who attend your programs, do you ever see parts of your younger self reflected in them?
I'm actually smiling as you're asking this question because I don't do much of the presenting anymore. I've got an amazing team, but it was for many, many years, it was definitely me on this quest to heal my younger self through the work that I was doing. So absolutely, yes, I definitely do see that in so many of the kids that we support, and so many of the families that we support. And I think that now more than ever, in this world, we need community, we need connection, we need less technology, we need real heart to heart conversations and support, that people can know that they're not alone, and that, as a family unit, no matter what that is made up of, whatever your family looks like, that you deserve to have a happy childhood. And so I'm today, 23 years later, equally as passionate about this Beautiful Minds mission. As we start to go global, we're about to launch in the US, and as we are about to franchise in Australia and then followed by New Zealand and the UK, I'm very, very focused on more so than ever getting our work out into the world.
That is super. That's so super, Marina. Congratulations for that. And you made me kind of reflect back on my teens as well, because I'm from that generation, like the millennial generation, where we have seen the life before technology or social media or even internet existed for the fact even computers existed in India.
Mm.
And then we've seen the advent of internet and how social media kind of became like this um, unforgivable and inevitable part of our lives. I mean, I've seen the good side, I've seen the better of the bad side of social media. It has definitely affected a lot of major events and decisions in my life, especially when I was a teen. In a time, Marina, when uh, kind of when we talk about safe spaces, we're not talking only about physical, but also the virtual places, because we are more digitally connected than ever. Kids are more digitally connected than ever.
Mm.
What does unplugging actually mean in the context of your retreats? Because someone, as a kid or as a teen, if I keep myself in that place where I'm every day for most of my time, I'm using everything, digital technology, AI, social media, and then suddenly I am kind of put in a place to leave everything. It will be like it will be really, really difficult. Uh,
Mm.
what does unplugging actually mean?
So, when you come to a Beautiful Minds retreat or a camp, because we support fathers and daughters, we have father daughter experiences, father and son weekends, mother and son weekends, a mother and daughter. So, there's something for the entire family. We've even launched programs for grandparents where they can come and learn well-being tools and then get their mental health on track with their grandkids. So, we support, two generations. And whenever you come to a workshop or a retreat or a camp, whatever it is, we have a no technology policy at Beautiful Minds. And it's not because, I love parts of social media. I think it's fantastic. But when you're going to come with your child and you're going to non-verbally tell your child that you are there for them for the weekend and you are focused solely on them and this wonderful experience where together you're going to be challenged, you're going to learn self-regulation tools, you're going to learn a number of Beautiful Minds you know sessions. Your phone cannot exist because people are unable to manage the time that they spend on their device. So, as soon as people check in for any of our experiences, there is a box and they hand in their phone. Their phones are switched off and they are returned to the owners. And the phones go back to the owners once they check out of the workshop or the camp. We have actually had a mother, this has happened, true story. A mother sent us an email. She was coming to one of our experiences and she said, under no circumstances am I going to hand in my phone. I'm addicted to it. I like to sit on Instagram at night. She went on and on in the email. And we sent her back an email and we said, thanks very much. We have refunded your camp in full. You will not be attending. You are not a Beautiful Minds customer if you cannot give up your phone for the weekend to focus on your child, because then we are missing the point here of what we're doing. And I think as human beings, why do we find it so difficult to just sit opposite our child and give them the attention that they need, focus on them? And we're asking ourselves, why is there more anxiety, disconnection, kids that cannot regulate, kids that cannot sleep? And it's because everyone in the family is sitting on their devices at
Mm.
all hours of the day. We have forgotten how to human.
Yeah,
We've
that's true.
forgotten how to human. And I spoke to a mother yesterday who said to me that her 12-year-old daughter had a phone and it was getting out of hand with the hours that she was using it. And I said to that mother, give your child the phone in the morning as she gets out of the car to go to school so that you know that she's safe. And as she gets back in your car in the afternoon, she hands her phone back in. And it is a non negotiable. I said, it is your job to parent and to set boundaries because your child will thank you when she's older. And if she, you know, has an issue with it now and she's upset and she causes a big, that's not your problem. Your problem is to parent. And I'm very tough with our experiences and what we do at Beautiful Minds. We do not welcome people that cannot switch their phone off for 2 nights.
Mm.
Yeah, because we know that we're gonna get the best out of them. We know that they will reset their nervous system, that they will focus on all of the activities for the weekend, that they will sleep better, and that for the time that they're in the care of our Beautiful Minds team, that we are going to just take the outside world away from them and put them in an environment that they can learn, explore, be a child again. The parents need to find joy and get back in nature and do all the wonderful things that will make their souls feel alive again so that they can be better parents for their kids. And the parents need to find those moments of happiness when they're with us at Beautiful Minds so that the kids can see their parents happy. What does it look like?
That's, I think uh, very, very refreshing. And it's also empowering because uh, you know, we I mean, it is kind of helping us to look at the basics, the fundamentals of parenting, and especially creating those boundaries as well. Creating that sense of gratitude, not instant gratification,
Mm.
especially kids and teens. Um, I think
Absolutely.
it's very, very essential. And uh, what do you think on this, Marina? I mean, why is it important to approach mental well-being as a shared experience rather than an individual journey?
I think that the parents need to learn the tools as much as the children because, unfortunately, when you're dealing with adults that come with their own trauma, and they've been raised a certain way and they don't actually know how to self regulate themselves, they don't know how to advise their children when their kids are having friendship issues at school or when their children come to them with a particular concern, that we can only support parents and kids together so that the whole family is learning the tools in a way that they can be armed with the most incredible science supported tools. We work with some of the world's best well-being experts, and they can take these tools back into the family home, reset the way that the whole family operates, so that together, almost like a sports team, they can learn how to move forward in a way that their team is going to win, that their team is going to work together and come together in a really powerful way. So we used to do a lot of programs at Beautiful Minds that was just focused on the children. And once the kids came and they have, an amazing time, and we've still got a few of those going, essentially, it needs to be a parent-child experience so that they can learn to connect better, they can learn to communicate better, they can work on family contracts, what are their values within that family, and then learn all of our self-regulation tools, and everything that we pack into an experience, plus all the beautiful fun, activities that they do in our care, and then take that home. And then you have a winning formula. And then we have a lot of aftercare at Beautiful Minds that we stay connected to our families because we want to see what is their journey like? How are they evolving? How are they going? And many families come to us every single year almost for a like a tune-up. They come to Beautiful Minds, we see them every 6 months or every year with their kids, and then we'll welcome them back 6 months later, which is wonderful because we get to watch these families grow.
Yeah, yeah, totally, totally. And Marina, I just want to bring in a bit of yeah, a nuance in here. Um, so now, some critics would say that these retreats they are privilege that not all families can access, and that real change has to happen in everyday environments, not in just special settings. So how would you respond to that?
Look, I couldn't agree with that. I completely agree with that. I think every single person should have the support of beautiful minds in their family. And so, what we've done to be able to address that is that we have 2-hour workshops all over Australia that families can come in just for 2 hours and learn the tools around specific topics. So, whether it's regulating emotions, managing friendships, better communication, whatever it is, they can sign up for $40 and they come and have a really incredible 2-hour experience. We also have a number of meetups all over Australia where families can come together and connect. And the whole reason why we are now franchising is to get our work into other parts of the world so that these smaller, bite sized community activations can happen everywhere. We do a lot of work online as well for a number of different customers that live all over the world that can sign up and experience our work. And we collaborate with a lot of schools and corporates and programs all over the world that will hire us to support their groups. And so, whatever way that we can, spread the word, support families, give them our tools, we're always up for it because we firmly believe that every family should have access to it. We have had many conversations with the Australian government to be able to gift our tools out to all of Australians, but our government has got some very strange thoughts around that, which we won't go into. But I just think at the end of the day, in any way that you can sort of engage with us, it will help your family.
Yeah, absolutely. I think this is something here accessibility is such an important uh, you know aspect here. I mean, every family, uh, and that too, I mean, it has to be sustained at home as well. And Marina, before we wrap up, there's also a perspective that the technology isn't the problem. It can be used for mindfulness and connection if approached differently. I mean, we have been having so many conversations around, when we talk about algorithms. Uh, Whatever you are seeing online is what you want to see, and the machines, the technology, they just know what you want to see. So do you think it's about removing tech entirely, or about teaching healthy boundaries with it?
No, look, I think technology is fantastic, and we're going into the world of AI. It's only going to get bigger, and there's no ways that we can sort of stop the horse from bolting, so to speak. We're already in this very tech-heavy world. But I do think that there's little things that small little changes that a family can make where, on a Sunday, could everyone decide that that Sunday is the day that the family actually connects without their phones, that that's the day where they get to work on, their connection? Could they go and do something really beautiful together that doesn't involve those members sitting on their mobile devices? Could it mean that at the end of the day, come 6 o'clock, everyone's technology is switched off so that the family is sitting around the table and eating a meal without the distraction of the radio or TV, and they can actually talk and check in with each other and have a conversation. Um, there's just little things that we can do every single day. At the start of your morning as a family, could you go outside and get some morning light to reset your circadian rhythm and ground yourself and get into the day in a really positive, beautiful, quiet way that you are not starting your morning frazzled and agitated? But it's up to us as individuals to work through the things that we can do and to manage our technology use better. Because if you can sit today and honestly tell me that the amount of technology that you're consuming is not having an impact on you, that's great. But if it is, and you're spending too much time on your device, you are sitting listening to this podcast and you know that you are anxious, you're not sleeping well, you're feeling overwhelmed, this is your reminder to switch off more than you are currently doing.
Hmm, that's really powerful, Marina. And finally, for our listeners, they would like to connect with you and also explore more about the work that you're doing at Beautiful Minds. What would be the best way?
We've got a beautiful visual Instagram, which is at Beautiful Minds, which is really fantastic. Or you can head to our website, www.beautifulminds.com.au. As I said, we're very excited. We are launching in Florida and Los Angeles later this year. We've just actually set up our company in Singapore, so we'll have a Singapore head office, and there's some really exciting things coming. So if you're listening and we can support you in any way, please do reach out.
Super, super, Marina. Great. I'll make sure to have all the links in the show notes. And what I loved here is that it's not about the quick fixes or chasing or jumping onto the next wellness trend. It's about slowing down enough to see each other again, to listen, laugh, to breathe together. Um, and in a time when it's easy to feel like, life is something happening to us, I think you and your work at Beautiful Minds, it reminds us that life can also be something that we create. I mean, we have the right to make choices, mindful choices, one deep breath, one shared experience, a moment. So thank you so much, Marina.
Sana, it was an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for having me on the show.
And to all the listeners, whether it's a walk in the park without phones, a nightly check in around the dinner table, or a weekend retreat in nature, the invitation is the same. Be here now, because that's where connection lives. And that's where well being begins. Until next time, this is your host, Sana, signing off from the Mindful Living. Do check out Beautiful Minds. I'll have all the links in the show notes. And thank you so much to everyone for tuning in.